In the opening scene of the film, a king, in pursuit of a dragon, leads his soldiers into the dragon's cave. While advancing cautiously, they are suddenly attacked by the dragon, which breathes fire and kills all the king's soldiers one by one. Left with no other choice, the king begs for his life. The scene then shifts to another kingdom centuries later, which is in stark contrast due to its poverty, with citizens dying of hunger. Here, we meet Elodie, the princess of this impoverished kingdom. She receives a marriage proposal from a prince of a very prosperous kingdom, a prospect that fills her father with happiness, as he believes this union could change their kingdom's fortunes. Elodie agreed to the marriage, albeit unwillingly, to change her kingdom's situation. In preparation for her marriage, they set off for another kingdom. As they approached the island, they spotted some dragons amidst a sea storm. Despite this, they safely reached the palace. Elodie was very impressed by the palace, noting it was much larger than hers. A royal servant welcomed them and showed them to their rooms to rest. At night, while standing on the balcony and looking outside, she sees a fire in the distant mountains. Anyway, in the morning, the queen informs Elodie's father that they agree to this relationship and will marry them tomorrow. The queen also expresses her desire to talk to Elodie's father about this. Afterward, the prince and Elodie converse outside. Elodie asks the prince if he is being forced into this marriage. The prince responds that he is not, and he found her very beautiful. While they talk, they reach a hill, and Elodie mentions that she saw fire in the mountains on the other side yesterday. The prince explains that those mountains are very important. In a cave inside, they have some old rituals, which will be held after their marriage, and they will go there on the wedding day. In the next scene, we see that Elodie's dad has been very upset since meeting the queen. When Elodie's mother asks him about his worries, he doesn't tell her anything. So she decides to talk to the queen. However, the queen is very proud and refuses to speak with Elodie's mother, stating that she has come from a small kingdom and they are merely engaging in trade. Afterward, she gathers her two daughters and expresses her concern that something bad is going to happen. During the conversation, Elodie's dad also arrives and taking her mother away. It is evident that he also wants to hide something. In the next scene, we witness Elodie's marriage to the prince. Elodie accompanies the prince to the mountains where she had seen the fire a few days earlier. The prince had already informed Elodie about the upcoming rituals. Upon reaching a cave inside the mountain, they find the people of the kingdom already waiting for them. The queen informs Elodie that a dragon resides in this cave, which had caused significant destruction in their kingdom 100 years ago. Despite their king's attempts to defeat the dragon, it proved too dangerous. In a desperate bid to save his life, the king struck a deal with the dragon, offering his 3 daughters to her. After this pact, the dragon ceased its attacks on their kingdom. Since that day, they have been performing this ritual until today. The queen makes cuts on both the prince's and Elodie's hands and joining them together. She tells them that from now on, they are one, and Elodie is now a member of the royal family. The prince then carries Elodie in his arms. Although Elodie is embarrassed, she is also very happy because she doesn't know what will happen to her next. Suddenly, the prince drops Elodie into a pit, which causing her to faint. When she regains consciousness, she shouts for help, but her cries awaken the sleeping dragon. With no one coming to help her, Elodie attempts to climb out of the pit. However, the ground is very slippery, causing her to fall repeatedly. Elodie sees that there is a lot of girls' stuff lying around. Suddenly, she notices fire in the air. Upon closer inspection, she sees that some flying insects have been burned to death by the dragon's fire. Terrified by the sight of the dragon, Elodie is approached by the dragon, who asks for her name. After Elodie reveals her name, the dragon informs her that she has come here under a deal, and in return, he will kill her today because she smells royal blood on her. Before anything bad can happen to Elodie, she runs away. Seeing her flee, the dragon attacks her with fire. While running away, Elodie reached a small cave but couldn't completely escape the dragon's fire. Her foot was badly burned. She tore off pieces of her clothing and used them to bandage the wound. Despite the pain, Elodie knew she couldn't give up. She had to escape at any cost. As she explored the area, she noticed a blue light. Upon following it, she discovered that it emanated from a tree-like structure. Elodie wanted to get closer, but a vast pit lay between her and the light. With the dragon close behind, she decided to jump over the pit. She made a massive leap but fell short of the other side. Just as she was about to fall into the pit, she used the knife in her hand to save herself and reach the other side. The blue lights were actually small glowing insects. Elodie tore off more of her dress to fashion a pouch, filling it with a large number of insects so they could serve as a lamp as she proceeded. A little further on, she found a small pond. Just as Elodie opened her mouth to drink, the dragon appeared and attacked her with fire. To save herself, Elodie ran away again and hid in a small cave. Inside, she saw the names of many girls etched into the walls, making her realize that many girls must have been sacrificed here. Exhausted by everything, she fell asleep. Upon waking, she discovered all the insects she had collected were sitting on her wound. Startled at first, Elodie then noticed that her wounds had completely healed when she removed the insects. These insects turned out to be incredibly beneficial. Using the insects as a lamp, she continued forward and discovered a map on a small stone, showing how to exit the cave. Eager to leave, she followed the map but found the path covered with sharp crystals. Despite the risk of serious injury, her courage didn't falter. With great difficulty, she climbed over the crystals, ignoring her pain, and eventually found an exit. However, her relief was short-lived when she realized she was at the mountain's summit, with no apparent way down. Overcome with despair, she began to cry and shouted for help, but her voice couldn't carry far enough to be heard from such a height. Then, suddenly, she saw some horses below, and at that moment, the dragon appeared in front of her. Before the dragon could attack her again, Elodie retreated back into the cave. The dragon told her that no matter how much she ran, no one had ever escaped from this place. Suddenly, Elodie heard her father's voice coming from below in the cave. As soon as she heard his voice, the dragon moved to investigate, giving Elodie a chance to go down and find her father. And along the way, she saw a lot of gold and 3 broken dragon eggs. Seeing these things, she realized that the story the queen had told her was partly true and partly false. Actually, when the king came to this cave many years ago, he found 3 dragon eggs from which 3 dragons were emerging. The king killed these 3 dragons, which is why the dragon is still seeking revenge on them. This scene transitions to a flashback, where the king is seen begging the dragon for his life. The dragon then tells the king that death alone is insufficient. She wants them to suffer as well. She demands 3 children from each generation as a sacrifice. Only after receiving these sacrifices, she will allow them and their kingdom to live in peace. In the present scene, Elodie's father calls out for his daughter. Then, the dragon appears in front of him. He tells the dragon that he has come to take his daughter back, even if it means he has to fight the dragon. The dragon responds by telling him to call his daughter over. Elodie's father shouts loudly, instructing her not to come there. Angered by this, the dragon pierces Elodie's father's chest with one of its claws. Seeing her father dying in front of her eyes, Elodie screams, which distracting the dragon. The dragon moves to the other side to search for Elodie. Seizing the opportunity, Elodie rushes to her father's side. He tells Elodie that he is dying because of his sins, but she must survive. He instructs her to go to her mother and sister, who are waiting for her on their ship. As soon as he says this, he dies, and Elodie moves forward to escape from there. Using the rope her father had used to descend into the cave, Elodie climbs up. The dragon notices her and repeatedly attempts to attack her with fire, but she manages to evade its attacks and eventually exits the cave. She sits on her dad's horse and rides away from there. The dragon, still in pursuit, prepares to attack with fire. Then, she dismounts the horse and hides in the mountains. Fortunately, she remains unseen by the dragon. In its anger, the dragon burns her horse. In the distant palace, the queen watched everything unfold with anger. She blamed Elodie for everything and vowed to fix it. Meanwhile, on the ship, Elodie's sister, who was watching the fire in the mountains, suddenly saw the queen arrive and kidnap her. The queen's plan was to offer Elodie's sister to the dragon instead of Elodie to save her kingdom. Elodie's mother attempted to save her daughter, but the queen thwarted her efforts by stabbing her before leaving. In the next scene, Elodie's mother also finds her. She is badly injured and tells Elodie that she is fine and will take care of herself. But Elodie must find her sister because the queen is going to sacrifice her in front of the dragon instead of Elodie. Elodie tells her mother that their dad is also no longer alive. After this, she immediately goes to the cave because she knows that the queen would have taken her sister there. In the cave, the queen cuts Elodie's sister's hand and mixes her blood with her own before throwing her into the pit. Elodie arrives at the cave shortly after. She descends into the pit, bringing along many shining insects and her father's sword, which she believes will be useful in fighting the dragon. In the scene, the dragon has not yet killed Elodie's sister. Instead, she sits by her children's grave, blaming Elodie's sister for their deaths. The dragon vows to kill Elodie and make their family suffer in the same way. She also predicts that Elodie will come to save her. On the other side, to distract the dragon, Elodie makes some noise inside the cave so that the dragon knows she is coming. As soon as the dragon goes to the other side to find her, Elodie reaches her sister. However, before Elodie can save her sister and take her away, the dragon returns. Elodie tells the dragon that they were lied to. They were told that the dragon attacked their kingdom, but she now knows the truth. Elodie says that the king killed the dragon's children. The dragon responds that regardless of the truth, if they were her elders, then she will take her revenge on Elodie. Elodie clarifies that they do not belong to the king's family. Before Elodie can say anything else to the dragon attacks her with her fire. To save herself, she falls into the water. Elodie is in a lot of pain. The dragon grabs her again and injures her with her nail. This time, to save herself from the dragon, Elodie attacks her eye with the sword. The dragon gets very angry with this attack. She throws Elodie away and attacks her with fire, but by colliding with the stones there, the dragon's own fire starts burning her. The dragon was very hurt after being burned. Then Elodie tells her to look at the wound on her hand. She tells the dragon that this way the king's family cut their hands and mixed their blood with the king's family, making it royal blood, and presented it to the dragon. She also clarifies that they are not the king's children, but innocent girls sacrificed by the royal family. Elodie tells the dragon that just like they killed her children, the dragon is also killing someone else's children. After learning the truth, the dragon becomes very sad and tells Elodie that her punishment should be death. The dragon advises Elodie to kill her, but Elodie refuses. Instead, Elodie collects some insects and puts them on the dragon, which heals the dragon's wounds. In the next scene, Elodie goes to confront the real traitors, the prince and queen of the kingdom. The prince was preparing to sacrifice another girl like her. Elodie approaches the bride and tells her the truth, urging her to run away from there. Following this, Elodie announces to everyone that those who want to save their lives can leave. But the queen dismisses Elodie's threat, claiming they are not afraid of a lone girl. Elodie then asserts that she is not alone. As soon as she says this, the flying dragon appears in the sky above the palace. Subsequently, the dragon destroys the entire palace, including the royal family. Her revenge is now fulfilled in the right way. In the last scene of the movie, we see Elodie, her sister, and her mother returning to their kingdom. The dragon accompanies them, symbolizing the resolution of their conflict and the restoration of peace. With this final image, the movie concludes.